Oh, man. Already talking Super Bowl food. New Orleans will be the host for the Super Bowl. We'll be down there next Wednesday and Thursday night. Looking forward to that. We're live in the Bank Plus studio, Out of Bounds, 105.9 The Zone, ESPN. I want to let you know that Wicker's Marinade and Seasoning and Jonesy Q Dry Rub, both award-winning from award-winning pitmaster Jeff Jones, Mississippi-owned companies. Wicker's and Jonesy Q, Marinade and Rub are, you can find it at Martin's Market, which is right out there in Livingston where 22 and 463 meet. Obviously, Martin's in Livingston. The restaurant is there, but the market is in the front. Wicker's and Jonesy Q is now in the market. Go grab some. It's amazing. And support Mississippi companies. We welcome in Mike Detillier, WWL Radio TV New Orleans. Mike D joins us on the Farm Bureau Insurance guest line. And Mike, what's the latest? Where do you think this search is going for the New Orleans Saints and their head coach?
Yeah, I think it's in the final stages, to be honest with you, where it's come down with Aaron Glenn taking the job with the Jets. It's come down between Kellen Moore with the Eagles or Mike McCarthy with the Cowboys. I think it's going to be one of those two guys. I've always felt McCarthy was a major player in this. The thing with that is, I think for Mike, and I get this part about, I just don't want to come down for an interview. If you're interested in me, you let me know. And I think they'll have that interview very quickly with McCarthy. They interviewed Kellen Moore yesterday in Philly. So that tells me that if you're taking a private plane and going to Philly to talk to Kellen Moore, there's some interest there. Now, it would really be an interest if Kellen Moore had got on a private plane and flown to New Orleans and looked at, what the Saints have headquarter-wise. So I think it's come down to those two guys at this stage.
Okay. Who would you rather them hire? Who do you like better?
I'll be honest. I have no idea about Kellen Moore. I've never met him. I've talked to people who have. So from a personality standpoint, is he an alpha? And that is what is missing with the Saints. They need someone who is a take charge, take control guy. And I just think there is something about experience and past success. If you have that, I think that is a huge plus for you. And Mike McCarthy's had that. He's had a lot of success with the Packers. He's had a lot of success with the Cowboys. Maybe not in postseason, but he's had a lot of success with them. And some of this, not all his doing, with who you worked for in Dallas. So my preference would be Mike McCarthy. Only because I think at this moment with this franchise, they need an alpha leader who's been there, done that, and has been successful. And Mike McCarthy's done that. No one can tell you how good of a head coach Kellen Moore's been. Okay? A lot of people in this world want to be the boss of where they're at. How many of them, when they get that opportunity, are really good at it? You don't know until you in that spot and you have the final word. You can be a hotshot, young junior guy, and you can call plays, and be an offensive guy or a defensive guru, but can you be the leader in that locker room? Can you run the big room of 53?
Right.
And you don't know that. I know enough about Mike McCarthy, I can say he can do that.
Mike Detillier on the Out of Bounds Show, brought to you by Sound and Communications. Your next video wall is brought to you by soundcomav.com. So you expect them to interview McCarthy today or tomorrow?
Yes, I think it'll be pretty quick.
Why do you think they waited, Mike?
I have no idea. This has been one of the strangest searches, and I have no idea what they're up to from a search standpoint. But you know what? I could have said the same thing back in '06. That there was a lot of people that wanted, the owner then, Tom Benson, he wanted Mike Sherman, who had been the head coach with the Packers. He pushed hard for that. Jim Haslett, on his way out and talking to whoever he talked to there, he really pushed hard and told them, you're going to fire me and I get it. Mike Martz is the guy. Mike had some success, certainly, with the Rams and being an offensive coordinator, and he had been the head coach for a short time there. He just wasn't Vermeil. True. And then ended up, Mickey Loomis picked Sean Payton, who had never been a head coach before. Never. And it was sort of weird back then. A lot of people thought they may go the route of Maurice Carthon. He was heavily pushed by a lot of people in the NFL at that time. He was a Parcells guy, and he was running the offense for the Cleveland Browns. And look how they struck. They hit Sean Payton. So them picking Dennis Allen a few years back, that was no surprise. It almost like he was the guy in waiting when Sean would leave. Though I think it was much closer than people would like to think between him and Aaron Glenn on who got the job. So only one guy can answer that, and that's Mickey Loomis.
Wow. So this is, they've had time to interview. I mean, not that you're on a time crunch in the NFL like you are college football. I just think that's odd that you've had time to interview Mike McCarthy and you haven't. I don't know if they wanted Kellen to get in front of them and not have already interviewed Mike McCarthy or interesting. Okay.
I have no idea kind of what the setup there is. And it's not like they're fighting over Mike McCarthy with somebody else.
No.
You're the last job open.
Right. Right.
But, I think about the guy who got the last job last year. And Ben Johnson was on that plane, and he was going to meet with the officials, the new kind of owner, GM of the Washington Commanders. And he turned that down. I'm staying in Detroit. And that guy was Dan Quinn.
Mm-hmm.
Another guy who had experience. He had won in Atlanta. How you lost that Super Bowl is still a mystery to me.
Yeah.
Because you had the Patriots where you wanted them, and all you had to do was run the ball. They wouldn't have had enough time left to beat you with a 28-3 lead going into the fourth quarter. But look how successful that was with Dan. And I think Dan did a great job. Okay, Jane Daniels is not coming out of the telephone booth like Superman and saved the day for the Saints. There is not another one like that, that type of guy. But Quinn was the right hire. And team responded to him. He's not this young hotshot coach. In this business, most people would say he's an old pops. He's in his 50s. But look and he's not the offensive coach. He was the defensive-oriented guy. He hired the young hotshot guy to run his offense in Cliff Kingsbury. So there's more than one way to skin the cat if you do it right. The big question mark is, can you do it right? And, Bo, we can cut this every which way you want. The main problem with this organization, and until they come to realization with it, they're stuck in neutral. And that is, they got to get better talent. They have fumbled the ball on draft day, trading picks away to 3 picks to get 1 pick. You need to accumulate draft choices and restock and rebuild your football team with younger talent. And until you look in that mirror and say, we screwed up and this is how we're going to fix it. Not this mealy-mouthed stuff you see on interviews about, we feel as though we've drafted well. What? Draft who well? Okay, it would be my question. So, again, that it doesn't matter who you hire as a coach. If you don't get the talent part right, you are stuck in football purgatory. And I wrote that 2 years ago, and I believe it today. You're still stuck in football purgatory because of your roster and the lack of talent that's on it.
Mike Detillier, Saints Insider, WWL Radio. He joins us on the Out of Bounds show, 105.9 The Zone, ESPN. And it looks like it's down to Kellen Moore and, for some reason, Mike McCarthy, who they haven't interviewed yet, who was let go 2 weeks ago or whatever it was, a week and a half ago. The Saints at number 9. Give me two positions that the Saints should pick from to draft.
Well, defensive line would come to mind right away, and this is a really thick class of defensive linemen. Matter of fact, in my top 75, I'm staring at it now. 23 of the top 75 are defensive linemen.
Wow.
So that's almost basically a third of what you're looking at going early. It's the reverse of a year ago, where we talk so much about all the offensive line talent, and it peeled off like that. That was a lot of offensive line talent, good ones, and the Saints got one in Taliase Fuaga. He's a really good football player. He's a building block for the future. But this year, it's about defensive linemen, both at end and at defensive tackle. Man, give me that starting lineup for the Ole Miss Rebels. Give me that talent, and we call it a day. Because this team needs help up front. And the other part would be you need a playmaker on offense. And I don't care if it's a tight end or wide receiver. If you pick a defensive lineman in round 1, you got to pick a playmaker in the second round. And it's not a great year at wide receiver, to be honest with you. Over the last 5 years, it's probably the least amount of talent, especially at the top, from a wide receiver standpoint. Because most people look at Travis Hunter as a guy that's going to start at corner and play some wide receiver. McMillan, I think, is an outstanding football player from Arizona. And, you got other guys like a Luther Burden that can help. But I think in that top 10, give me a big man. The Greeks settled this years ago. I have a chance to pick a really talented big man or a smaller guy, go with the big dude. Okay. And so defensive line and then a playmaker at either wide receiver or tight end. The good news at tight end is it isn't as good as 2 years ago, but it is close. There's a tremendous amount of tight end talent. And I think that more and more is becoming a bigger part of the National Football League offensively, to have that big matchup situation downfield with a 6'5" tight end. Tell me a defensive back that's even close to that.
They can't. You can't.
And now the athleticism, and we see it now camps a lot of times. We do the camps, and I'll see this really tall athlete, and I ask them, what position you play on defense? Oh, no, sir, I don't play defense. What? You're 6'4". No, I'll play either wide receiver or top flex tight end. I see it in the camps today more and more. I ain't playing defense. I play on offense. I want to catch the ball.
Right.
So you getting now a better brand of athlete at the tight end position than any other time in my lifetime. And I'm 60-something years old. So I think you're seeing that change at tight end. So for me, defensive line and then a playmaker at either wide receiver or tight end.
The Saints are chasing the ghost of Peyton and Breeze. And we'll see what they do here over the next 24, 48 hours as they've interviewed Kellen Moore And evidently they're now going to interview Mike McCarthy, and they're going to choose between the two. We're visiting with Saints insider, NFL insider, Mike Detillier on the Farm Bureau Insurance guest line. Mike D, let's go to the Dallas Cowboys. Jerry and Steven decided to hire Brian Schottenheimer. Your thoughts on that hire?
When they let go Mike McCarthy, my first thought was, I know who's going to be the new head coach there. And I thought it would be Kellen Moore. There's a lot of ties with Kellen and the Dallas Cowboy organization. I never really thought they were going to get Dion. Okay. That looked great, and it was great for the headlines, but I knew that wasn't going to happen. I thought if Coach Prime coached in the pros, he would at least want some control. He's got none of that if he goes to Dallas. None of it. And so when they didn't get Moore to go with Brian Schottenheimer, so you fired Mike McCarthy to hire Mike McCarthy's offensive coordinator? Only in Jerry's world would that make sense. That's just the way I look at it. But, what was the first time I've heard Brian Schottenheimer talk for any length of time? I heard it yesterday. Oh, my God. I'm driving to Mississippi to do the casino show, and it's like I'm listening to his dad, Marty Schottenheimer. The tone, the way he speaks is exactly like his dad. And we had a couple clips, and we were doing the show last night, and Bobby was, Mike, I hadn't thought about it till you said it. He sounds just like his dad. And, Bobby played up against Marty's teams in Cleveland, also again in Kansas City. He was like, boy, you're right about that. Now, can he coach like his pop? No, Marty Schottenheimer, he was sort of the Jim Mora of his day. He won a lot of games. Playoff-wise, he wasn't nearly as successful. But, man, Brian's in for a big, big task there. I wish him well. I don't see how he's going to have any kind of success.
No.
Because he's got no power personnel-wise. He's got no power basically on his assistants. None of that.
No.
So you hiring a guy to do what Jerry tells you to do.
Right. Yeah, I think outside of Parcells, Mike D, and I read that unbelievable article 18 years ago, 20 years ago. Again, it was in the New York Times or Wall Street Journal. I think it was in the Times on Parcells at Dallas. But, if we go through Dave Campo, Chan Gailey, Wade Phillips, Parcells was a good hire. And then, Jason Garrett, not a good hire. And then McCarthy's a pretty good hire. And then Schottenheimer would be considered a meh. These are not good hires. His track record, he's just not a good football guy. But I guess Parcells was the only one that could somewhat keep him in check and had a little bit of say in football ops post Jimmy Johnson. But other than that, Mike D, you're exactly right. These guys have just walked in the building and said, Jerry, what do you want to do? Right?
And they knew that coming in.
Right.
That's the other part. But there's only 32 jobs in the NFL. And so sometimes in the back of your mind, you think you can change somebody that's unchangeable. It's like going out maybe with some lady and she's got some major flaws and you say, but I'm really good to her and I can change her. You might be really good to her and she might be really good to you. You're not going to change her. And that's Jerry, because he does throw you the aura of the Cowboys and, America's team and this huge fan base. And, we going to get it right. And yet he hasn't. He hasn't. And you fire a coach that won 12 games 3 straight years. So your expectations are a lot more than winning regular season games. It's all about, Jerry wants that Super Bowl again. I think it's going to be elusive to him, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
I think he had his opportunity with Jimmy. And I think about in the pre, I guess, post free agency world, that could have been the dynasty that we're seeing today in Kansas City. That could have been that way in Dallas. He literally could have ran a 10-year, 12-year run in Dallas that would have been unprecedented today because of what he had basically built up talent-wise. Jimmy was never going to let him rest on their laurels. He was going to be on their ass from early in the morning till late at night.
Yeah.
And he knew how to press their buttons. And then, Jerry wanted control. And it's been written up before that he offered Jimmy a new contract, but less control. He wanted to run the personnel department. He changed the way the NFL does business. He's maybe the greatest business owner in the history of the National Football League. And I say maybe only because I can't think of anybody else who's changed it more than Jerry. But yet, if you'd have stuck to business and done what you did best, man, think of that if you could have had Jimmy for maybe 10 more years with that roster.
Goodness.
And his mind to pick college players. And he would have never let that team rest on the laurels of a couple or 3 Super Bowls. Never. Man, to be around Jimmy at that time, he was such a driven guy to be the greatest that we would be comparing the Chiefs today to them. That's what I guess is the sad part of the story. If you're a Cowboys fan, that's really the sad part of it because they literally could have had that.
Well, we'll leave it there. So the Saints will make a move here sooner than later. Kellen Moore, Mike McCarthy, and we'll see how Who Dat Nation reacts to that. Brian Schottenheimer is in the house in Dallas. He was the OC, but he did not call the plays as McCarthy did. Obviously, Kellen Moore did prior to that, and see how it all shakes out. So, Mike D on the Out of Bounds show. Y'all getting ready for? Well, we've only got a minute here, but you excited about next week and the Super Bowl coming to town?
I better, because they'll have me working around the clock. With it being in New Orleans, and so. The major part is just getting downtown today, man. They got one street closed off, another street closed off another day.
Wow.
And then we had the snowfall a week ago, which was odd, to say the least. Beautiful, but it was strange. Listen, at my house, when I got 9 inches of snow, and I live on the bayou. I live 90 miles from the Gulf of America or Mexico, however you want to call it today. So, man, to think of that is unreal. I actually had over a foot of snow next to the pasture that I live in front of.
Oh, wow.
It was unreal to see that snow come down. And Grand Isle, which is the farthest south you can get in Louisiana, they had almost 5 inches of snow.
Unreal. Thanks, Mike D. Talk to you next week.
Brother.
He's awesome. We'll be back in a second.
Say, kids, what time is it?
It's 9 a.m., and this ain't no kiddie show. It's the Out of Bounds Show with Bo Bounds.
On aboard!
As Mississippi's #1 morning show rolls on the Zone 105.9 and online at thezone1059.com.
Interesting. We will talk Captain Rodney's again because somebody made a good point. Well, I don't want to give him too much credit. But anyway, we are the Out of Bounds Show. ESPN 105.9 The Zone. I'm your host, Bo Bounds. We talked Jackson Dart earlier. And what could happen at the Senior Bowl this week? Can he move into the first round? Is he a shoo-in now for the second round? I mean, is that like damn near automatic? We'll see. 105.9 The Zone, ESPN. Good article on ESPN.com. And then also ESPN's Matt Miller believes that he will work out his way into the first round. This is a big, big week for Jackson Dart down at the Senior Bowl in Mobile. Everybody's there. He's going to get interviewed. They get a close look at him. They'll get to run him through the drills that they want to run him through. NFL coaches all around him. Yes, he'll have his own pro day. You know, it'll be private and all that. I would have to believe. Most of the time quarterbacks do their own thing away from the other players. That's kind of how that trend has gone, but we'll see. Some say he's already in the second round and will work his way into the first round. We'll keep an eye on Jackson Dart and what all we hear this week coming out of Mobile, but practice is interviews and practice are the most important. Far, far, far more important than the game. Sure, you can do a couple of things in the game that can also help you. But a lot of guys are already done after the 4 or 5 practices going into the week. You don't want to look bad. I mean, if Jackson Dart plays a couple of series, he doesn't want to throw 2 pick sixes. That's obvious. But today, it's a grind all week. Started yesterday, and they'll poke and prod them and challenge them and get into their mind. And then, of course, get to see him physically. We'll be in the combine before we know it. But the personal pro days and things like that, they're going to go into, you know what they do on quarterbacks? They're going to go around town and ask, I mean, I wouldn't put it past them to go to bars and restaurants and go see, and they'll ask teammates and they'll ask this person and that person. Now, Lane Kiffin raves about him as he should. He's a winner, competitive. Did everything that, I mean, he recruited a lot of the players that joined the team. And that was last year, about 13 months ago, roughly, give or take, bled into this time of year. But he was Ole Miss's arguably #1 recruiter in the portal. Yeah. So he did it. He wore all the hats for Ole Miss. Jackson Dart's in Mobile for the Senior Bowl, and this is a big 4 or 5 days for him. You can get in touch with us on the Out of Bounds Show, ESPN 105.9 The Zone, on the Mac Hike Auto Group text line, 5 dealerships in the metro area. The text number is 601-885-3776. Twitter X at Bo Bounds. And then, of course, the Key City Beer caller line out of Vicksburg is 601-707-3750. 707-3750. Who will the Saints hire? And then will it be Kellen Moore, Mike McCarthy? Is there some other surprise candidate. This is a big hire. They're still chasing the ghost of Peyton and Breeze. This is a franchise that wasn't interesting. To me, it wasn't worth watching from 1967 to 2005. And I've told you all the story about going to Saints games in the 80s. And, you know, I think season tickets were $5 or what. Anyway, every time I'm in my aunt's restaurant, she's got 47 of them. And I went, and then I had to quit the Saints. It was boring. I mean, they weren't any good. Weren't any good in the 90s. And, I know that team with the linebackers, that was a cute and sweet and fun story because they were so bad from 67 to 89 or whatever that was. And then the 2000s were just miserable, boring. And they hired Sean Payton. And the Miami Dolphins dropped the ball on Drew Brees. Yep. And Sean Payton takes a young Drew Brees and his wife around in New Orleans, ends up going through a very tough part of town because Sean didn't know where he was going. And this is before you put everything into your phone, and they're telling the story, and Sean doesn't know where to go, and it ended up working out, and the rest is history. They win a Super Bowl and go to multiple NFC championships, and they just won and won and won. And the Saints today are chasing the ghost of Peyton and Breeze. Mississippi State's chasing the ghost of Dan Mullen.
Right.
You made a terrible hire in Joe Moorhead. This is not personal. Joe Moorhead had no business running an SEC program. He had been an offensive coordinator for 2 years at Penn State. We realized that he had a generational, transcendent player in Saquon Barkley that made everything easy in a league that's slow outside of Ohio State. Then you had to just hang on and hire Mike Leach because you just had to win some. And Mike can win with virtually just solid football players. And he did. And then y'all know what happened, and this has played out and that played out. And then you hired an inexperienced, offensive coordinator with no head coaching experience in Jeff Lebby, and we're going to see where that goes. But Mississippi State's chasing the ghost of Dan Mullen. And look, hey, when Lane leaves, they'll be chasing the ghost of Lane. It's the way it goes. Mississippi State chased the ghost of Rick Stansbury with Rick Ray. Good hell. Rick Stansbury went to 6 NCAA tournaments. Ask yourself how many other college basketball coaches in the state of Mississippi that have gone to 6 NCAA tournaments.
Crickets.
Hell, he won 4 first-round games. Ask yourself how many coaches have done that. I've got the answer. I think you know it. But anyway, Ole Miss chased the ghost of Johnny Vaught forever. And and they finally got it with Lane. Now, Tuberville was a good hire. Cut was a solid hire. You did get Eli, so it's more than solid. It was pretty good. He didn't win as much as he should have, but he won some, and he got the chosen son, which was huge for the town and Ole Miss. And so, because Arch didn't even think. Ole Miss is winning like they've never won, and he didn't even think about playing for Lane Kiffin. No. And then you hired Lane, and that's really that's how long the ghost, from 1970. I don't know. I don't remember. He stepped down, came back. I can't remember his last season, 71 or something, and don't care, or 72. And chased that ghost for a long, long, long time. So, but the Saints are chasing the Peyton Breeze ghost, and Mississippi State's chasing the Dan and Dak ghost. Good morning. Welcome in. The text line is 601-885-3776. Some hella feedback on Super Bowl food that we will jump into on the other side. Wings, Rotel, Captain Rodney's dip. Jackson said load him up on some Captain Rodney's dip. We'll be back in a second. Enjoy the Super Bowl at the Beau Rivage. BetMGM is the king of sports books, and Beau Rivage's BetMGM Book Bar and Grill is the South's premier Vegas-style sports book. Experience the action at BetMGM Book Bar and Grill only at the Beau Rivage on the Mississippi Gulf Coast. Visit a live betting window, self-service kiosk, or use the BetMGM app to place your bets on your favorite games and sporting events. The app offers free-to-play promotions, live betting options, and boosted odds specials at your fingertips. Experience the action at BetMGM Book Bar and Grill, only at the Beau Rivage, Mississippi's Gulf Coast. That place will be rocking for Mardi Gras. You know what kind of party they do down in the Biloxi Gulfport, Bay St. Louis area. And then the Beau will be crazy for the Super Bowl, Mardi Gras, and then all of a sudden we'll flip into March Madness. So that's a good 24, 48 hours.
Of partying
At the Beau. Their sports book's amazing. And they have Elijah Craig small batch bourbon and Tito's and so on. We're ESPN 105.9 The Zone. So some people are getting on to me because we did this last time with the Captain Rodney's dip, and they're like, mayo doesn't go in the dip just because it says it when you. Okay, fair enough. So like Blake, I forgot that it's Jackson and I against Blake and Jason, because Blake and Jason like Captain Rodney's dip, but no mayo. It's just smoked cream cheese with the Captain Rodney's. So I can see that. It's still not something that I really want. But I get that is, I will recognize that is 100 times better than the recipe with mayo, cream cheese, and Captain Rodney's. So I get that. I don't know why it comes up that way. If you do back out your mayo or don't put any mayo in it and you just go some kind of smoked cream cheese with your Captain Rodney's, then I can understand that that's going to be 1,000,000 times better than what I just described.
Right.
Not something that I get up on tailgating days or Super Bowls thinking about. But I do love the Rotel with a little cream cheese, and Wendy does some deer meat or something in it. But she cuts way down on the cheese, more Rotel tomatoes. It's spicier, and I like that in the little crock pot. That's yummy to me. I can do that with Fritos or Tostitos or whatever. That is our dip of the Super Bowl. I love to do wings like many of you do. I don't do them at the level that all these guys and gurus around here do, but I've gotten better and better and better over the years, and I love cooking them. I don't care really. I mean, I can do them on the egg. I've got a gourmet guru, or the gas grill, or, I've just got a $100 Weber that I've used 1,000,000 times. So it just kind of depends on my mood and what the weather is that day as to what I'm going to do.
No Foreman. Whoa. Look, that is a cherished household item. I don't know what look, the Foreman grill is a staple.
No, the Foreman grill doesn't cook wings. It just cooks sandwiches and burgers.
It'll cook everything if you tweak it right.
No, I'm not doing wings on the Foreman grill. First of all, I don't have one anymore. I mean, Wendy and I use that, right? We got married in 1999. Somebody gave it to us. That was the big thing. We used to use it. It was fun. We had no money. We cooked burgers, the whole thing. And I think by 2000 or 2001, we were, we had moved on.
So how long did the Foreman last? What is that, like a 5-year stretch?
I think it was like a 2-year thing.
Okay. All right, that's plenty.
Yeah. I mean, it was still good. I just don't know where it went. I lost track of it. We eventually moved, and I don't know what happened. That was when you were a kid.
Yeah.
So I can tell. It's just like me on things that I remember as a kid. You get stuck on that.
Oh, yeah.
Like, it's a big thing. You keep mentioning it, which is fine.
I love my Foreman.
Yeah. I mean, you don't still use a George Foreman.
Oh, I used one of them. I mean, I've used one in the past, 2 years.
Okay.
Yeah. I used it whenever I lived out in Castlewoods. I used it a lot.
Cook burgers? You could what, flat press sandwiches?
Panini pressing.
Yeah.
So I really wasn't using
Like you get a good boar's head. I mean, now that I think about it,
that's it.
You get a good boar's head sandwich and you put that thing, because I want my sandwiches toasted. Now I will eat a cold sandwich occasionally, but I want it toasted. I want the bread. It's like when I order for you, I'm like, he wants it toasted.
Yeah, of course.
Downstairs at Beagle Bagel. Beagle Bagel, Madison gives you the option, toasted or not. People can go whatever way.
But
Ben says guaranteed salmonella cooking wings on a Foreman grill.
It's not.
How about that? Coming in strong, Ben.
That's pretty funny.
He's on the Mac Hike Auto Group text line. Sun Devil Macy. He is back from his cigar trip, and glad to see that he is rolling with us. I can't wait to hear more from him. I didn't get to go on the trip. I waited too late, and he's going to rub it in, and I love it. But I do want Sun Devil Macy to know that I am going down to Miami to interview Christian Aroa, who is the Tom Brady, Michael Jordan of cigar making, and it's going to happen sooner than later. So I hope that you're jealous. I will take pictures too. I'm going to smoke cigars with him and do a couple of interviews.
Might be able to play for the Heat.
Well, while I'm down there, since Jimmy Butler's gone, since they, dude.
Shuffle you right on in. Won't miss a beat.
No. I'm all about that.
The jumper's still there. It's like riding a bike. It never fades away, right?
No.
Hot take.
Good Lord.
Do you feel confident you can make like 8 of 10 free throws?
No.
Oh, come on.
No. But I made 3 in a row at the SAE house last fall while I was there, and that was what the challenge was. So I won.
Oh yeah, I mean, I expect.
So I got lucky.
I think you can knock down 8 out of 10.
Lucky.
I don't know.
Lucky.
I think you get up there and you'll find your rhythm.
So,
Get that guy drunk. I bet he'd fight everybody.
that's Jimmy Butler with the Miami Heat. Anyway, we are the Out of Bounds Show, ESPN 105.9 The Zone. And good morning, welcome in. Super Bowl menu. What are like the top 2 or 3 items you want on your Super Bowl menu? Mac Hike Auto Group text line. We're going to give away a Fleetway Market smoked meats Super Bowl package. And I've got to land that with them in the next day or two. We'll give that away next week. Fleetway Market, they smoke their meats daily. So when all the brisket and pulled pork and everything you see at Fleetway Market and the Market Cafe, that's smoked daily. We're going to and we've given away tailgating packages before, so this is going to be a Super Bowl tailgating package. Compliments of Fleetway Market and the Market Cafe in Gluckstadt. But what are your top 2 or 3 items on your Super Bowl menu? Mine are wings, rotel. I don't know where I'd go third. I love a corn salsa.
Ooh.
I really do.
That's nice.
Corn, black bean salsa. I love that because that's a little bit lighter than the rotel, so you can dance back and forth. You can combo it if you want. What else jumps out at me? I mean, a potato bar sounds good, but it's just Wendy and I.
Is there a certain
I don't do
kind of
Super
wing?
Bowl parties. Y'all have heard me talk about that. I like the idea, but we got to get up and roll the next morning. And, I've been to a couple over the years, and they're fun and they're amazing, and I'm glad people do them. And I think the average party is like 8 to 12, but there's some big ones, 15, 20, 20. That'd be way too much for me. Good hell. That'd be great for Jack. You put Jackson in a 20 person Super Bowl party.
Oh,
he won't watch 3 plays, but he won't stop talking the game now lasts 17 hours. So you got plenty of time to visit with people. Pregame starts at 10:30 that morning. Kicks not till 5:40 that afternoon. Game's over right at 9:00. Gives you about a solid 12 hours.
It's perfect.
Yeah. To really, really get after it. Hey, the text line is 601-885-3776. I need your top 2 or 3 Super Bowl menu items, and I need them now.
Now, I get my proverbial ass kicked over needing people in my comfort zone. Without this thing being about me in any way, if you don't think I can't operate out of my comfort zone, you're so wrong. It's unbelievable. This is as big a risk as you could take. As big a risk as you could take. No head coaching experience. Now, let me share something with you.
Okay.
With all of that, you've just heard him reference his osmosis, his family. Anybody in this room that doesn't believe the apple doesn't go far from the tree has missed it someplace down the road, especially if there was an effort to make it that way, and there was an effort. But then you go around to the countless numbers of coaches that Shotty has served on staff with and been around, the countless players. How often do you have someone that has 25, I'm going to say 25, it may be 26, of years of working through the human relationship and working, aspiring to learn, of have his ears and eyes wide open and looking for techniques and looking for things that make coaches better.
That's what I'm talking.
That was Jerry Jones talking about Brian Schottenheimer right in front of his face, by the way, as he was sitting right beside him, talking about risk. And this guy has no head coaching experience. And people are just sitting there going, what is he talking about? I mean, hell, I want to make it to 80 or 81, I think, if I'm in good health. But what's he talking about? I mean, this is what Jerry's trying to do.
I can sell you mountain front property right behind my home here on the bayou.
He said that in front of Brian Schottenheimer. I mean, there's no greater risk. Look what I'm doing. Well, you don't have to do that, Jerry. I mean, there are guys out there. You just let go of a coach who's been a head coach for years and led you to 3 straight 12-win seasons. And then you didn't do anything in the offseason, and then Dak got hurt, and you lost a bunch of games. But that doesn't mean that you know, if you got your act together in the offseason, you do nothing in free agency. You let Amari Cooper go in his prime. You let Cole Beasley go in his prime. You signed Zeke to a massive deal when he was on decline. You let go of the tight end that went to the Texans. Was it Dalton? And, you know, and you demand that the players that you like play more. Like Zeke this year. You didn't go with Rico Dowdle early until it's too late. Dak had already been hurt. Y'all didn't have anything, and you decided, oh, well, I mean, we have to play Zeke. And so the first 11 games of the season, you played Zeke just as much, sometimes more, and his 1.8 yards per carry was awesome. But then the last 6 games of the year, you realized that Rico Dowdle could average 4+ yards per carry. It's crazy. It really is. And,
These guys are a bunch of dumbasses.
Well, I don't know. That's Mike Detillier. So I guess he was referencing maybe Jerry and Stephen Jones. Did y'all see Stephen? The guy asked him point blank if they would consider the Philadelphia Eagles model, and he talked for 4 minutes about nothing. I mean, I just sat there and I thought, I just lost brain cells. I just lost 4 minutes of my life. Like, he didn't say anything. He could have been telling me about the buffet that guy's hammered buffets at the country club in the Dallas metro area like nobody's business. I mean, he goes in there and he can get after a country club buffet. I mean, he's not, but what time is it? He's 2 hours away from hammering a buffet at the country club. You know, when they set out like 24 items, because we all need 24 items at lunch, right? I mean, Steven's just, I don't need 1 piece of fried chicken. I need 4. Stephen Jones talked for 4 minutes yesterday. And the guy was like, what do you think about the Philadelphia Eagles? They're able to sign all their players and go get more players. Of course, Howie Roseman is full-time as a general manager. Howie, let me say it real slow for those that still haven't caught up. Howie Roseman, general manager of the Philadelphia Eagles, is a full-time general manager for the Philadelphia Eagles. Jerry and Stephen Jones haven't done anything this morning on the Dallas Cowboys. Now, they'll get settled about 11 a.m. I mean, do they even have anybody down at the Senior Bowl? I guess they do. But Will McClay doesn't get to call the shots. How do you know how good he is? I mean, they work for hours and hours, and they gather information on players, and they do their scouting around the country, and then they bring it, and then Jerry decides whatever he wants. I mean, it could be something that has nothing to do with what they brought him or whatever. Howie Roseman and all of his front office, they go out, they gather information, they bring it, they talk about it. Howie Roseman makes a call. He didn't call Jeffrey Lurie, the owner. Jeffrey Lurie's in the Bahamas.
Well,
He doesn't know any of these players.
Yeah. He's currently negotiating a deal for the Boston Red Sox.
Right. Just like Jerry doesn't know any of the players. Remember when Stephen Jones took the call in the draft
That's incredible.
about a Detroit Lions player? He didn't know who he was. Howie Roseman knows Lynch, Veach, general manager of the Chiefs, Lynch, general manager of the 49ers, Roseman, general manager of the Eagles. Whoever's under Ozzie Newsome now / Harbaugh knows every player in the league for the Ravens. Oh man, that was pretty good. I'm glad you dropped that.
Oh yeah, I mean it's good audio.
Jerry Jones audio.
I mean Jerry.
I mean he basically just trashed his new head coach
right in
front of him. I think he thought he was saying something. I'm like, I can't.
Awesome.
When I looked at that when I watched that yesterday, I thought it's even dumber than I thought out there. Like listening to Stephen Jones, you didn't have that. That's fine. Listening to Stephen Jones talk around why they would or would not do the Philadelphia Eagles model was hilarious. And then, or I don't know what it is. Is it funny or is it you have to cry? Yeah. I mean, I'm not sure. I don't know. But thank God Dak and CD are getting rich. And that's just the way it is. Did he make his defensive coordinator hire yet?
Yeah, I believe so.
Okay.
I believe he got the Bears ex-head coach, which is not bad.
Eberless? Yeah, whatever that name is.
I like the name. I don't know how to say it.
Okay. I wonder if he's good.
Wasn't bad. So it's always nice to have a former head coach on your staff, right?
No, not at all.
Yeah.
I mean, I wish Jeff Levy would have done that.
All right.
You know, now he's got Paul Rhodes, year 2, as a senior defensive analyst. We'll see how it goes. You confident?
What happened to Paul Rhodes? Well, they got hot at one moment.
I don't know if he was hot, but he actually won a few games at Iowa State, which was a terrible program. Now, you look at what Campbell's done there now, it's impressive.
Yeah.
Nobody will get either. He doesn't want it, and that's fine. He and his wife, I mean, they're making a ton of money. He may love it there. Good for him. But nobody's been able to come and get him. I mean, Keith Carter was kind of hot on the trail there. And then he told them no, and then they got on, Kiffin was like inside the 5 with Arkansas, and Keith had been told no a couple of times, and then he hit the biggest home run in the history of Ole Miss sports.
So, yeah, but Rhodes was a candidate at one point, right? To get
where? Other job? Well, he was the Iowa State head coach, and he went like 6-7 or something, which was pretty damn good. Went to a couple of bowl games. And then it got out from under him. It's hard to win up there. Other than Campbell, it's no. I don't think anybody else has done it. And then he was, he's bounced around as a DC, as a solid DC.
Right.
Hot's never the word I've used for Paul Rhodes. Okay. As far as coaching,
right?
Yeah, I don't think so.
Going back to that article, or just Stephen Jones being in the draft room and not being able to know who the player was.
Well, the best is the Cowboys show they were laughing so hard as they were telling the story. It was so, like, you could see that happening in a fantasy football draft with a bunch of guys drinking beer and eating pizza. Hell, I don't know who that is, right? You tell me, hey, I'll give you so and so. I don't know who that is.
That is exactly where it would
be.
But
Stephen Jones, hello? I mean, they do the whole thing.
He's in a real draft room.
Hey, we would like for y'all to consider this trade. And they say the Detroit Lions name, and Stephen goes, who?
Bowler. It was a Pro Bowler.
And he goes, who? And then they talk for just a second more. And he puts down the phone. He doesn't do anything. He doesn't like go over to Will McClay and go, hey, man, we just got a call.
Never.
And Detroit would like to make a move. He doesn't do. He just sits there. And then they call back. And they're like, you know, hey, this thing's rolling through. He goes, no.
He said, yeah, no, bye.
It wasn't worth him to go over to Will McClay and go, hey, man, the Lions called. And for some reason, I answered the phone. I mean, I don't know why you'd put a phone around him. Hell, he and Jerry don't know any of the players.
Yeah,
okay, so they don't know the rosters in the NFL like Will McClay or Howie Roseman. I mean, these are multi-billion-dollar companies. And so I don't know why you would let Stephen even answer Stephen Jones for our listeners, Jerry Jones' son. I don't know why you would let Stephen Jones answer the damn, other than his cell phone, if somebody's saying, hey, Stephen, you've got a to-go order from the country club.
That's about it.
All right, your 3 club sandwiches and your mac and cheese and, you know, your pimento cheese is ready.
Look at him.
That's it. And we're door dashing it to you.
Yeah. You don't need to be seen.
But I don't know why you would put a phone near him.
Look at that guy. I don't know. Just looking at him is just astounding. Between him and his father, I don't know how in the world they're able to do this and keep going.
Well,
how
because
they're okay in Dallas.
They're able to do it because they don't answer to anybody.
That's right,
they are the owners.
How does that change?
There's no other team in the league that does this.
How does
the
that
only
change?
other one that has dabbled in this is right. What's the difference? The difference between the Raiders, Jets, and Cowboys is the reason why the Cowboys have playoff appearances and have been able to win 9 to 13 games a lot is because of a guy named Tony Romo and Dak Prescott. When you are dysfunctional and run like the Cowboys, Raiders, and Jets, if you do not have a player at QB1, you go 3-13, which the Raiders and the Jets have been really damn good at doing.
Yeah.
I fell for the same trap. That's why I laugh at guys that, you know, here or wherever, when I see the shouty shows that blamed it. I wasn't keeping up with it. I just thought, oh, Romo's, you know, he's pretty good. And now I realize Romo was unreal.
He was so good.
Like I talked to people, like when Trent Dilfer and I were having dinner this summer, he looked at me and went, "Are you serious?" And I went, "Yeah, I mean, I finally realized that Tony Romo was unbelievable." He went no blank. He goes, everybody knows in the league what the deal is. And that's why when he didn't know I was a Dak homer until later. And so I threw out the Dak thing. He was like, "Dak's awesome." I was like, "Yeah, I know." He went, that franchise is, I won't say verbatim what he said.
Right.
And he's like, everybody in the league knows, Bo.
Is it
I mean, the
really
guy watching an ESPN show doesn't know. The guy listening to Sports Talk Radio in Dallas doesn't know.
But I mean, to have a known thing that known, surely they know.
Coaching and leadership and culture matters. Let's say it. Let's say it out loud. Dexter just nailed it on the text line. Let's just say 2 words. Sean Payton.
Yeah, right.
New Orleans Saints, Denver Broncos. Do I need to say anything more? Dan Mullen. Lane Kiffin. Hey, this isn't hard. Jackie Sherrill. They had lost for 70 years prior to his arrival. Then he started going and beating people. They were 8-56 prior to Dan's arrival, and Dan started coaching, culture, leadership, understanding what you're doing matters. Lane Kiffin.
But their coach obviously has no impact.
Sean Payton. Look what Sean Payton and Dan Mullen did for one program, the other one a franchise that never won.
Right. Never.
They're both chasing the ghosts of Sean and Drew and Dan Mullen.
How long do those chase last?
I don't know.
I mean,
you got to start making big boy hires.
That's right. And making non-emotional hires.
This is the SEC. I mean, you got Lane Kiffin, Brian Kelly, Kalen DeBoer, Kirby Smart, Mike Elko, Billy Napier.
How many of those?
Hugh Freeze. I know a lot of people do and don't like Freeze that are listening, and I don't care either way. But he's crazy to to cover, and that's what generates content and storytelling. Who was it that doesn't like him? You don't like him.
Who?
No. There was somebody I was around recently.
Who?
It was an Ole Miss fan. He was like, I hate you, Freeze.
Oh, come on. I love
Was it somebody that came up here and let us know?
Oh,
because we have so many people in and out of here after the show.
I don't know why you hate him. I love that guy.
He's a crazy man.
He's given me every bit of entertainment in the past 15
Oh,
years.
it's incredible.
It's
incredible.
He's a good coach.
He is a good coach. I mean, he's in a little bit of a tight spot.
Sure.
It happens to a lot of them. But I think he can work his way out of this.
I'd rather have him over Brian Schottenheimer. What?
I'd rather have Lane Kiffin as the head football. I'm dead serious.
No, seriously.
I would rather have Lane Kiffin as the head foot. Now, Lane wanted the Raiders job and couldn't even get in the mix.
Right,
and they just hired Pete Carroll. And I don't know how that's going to look, but there are men operating at a high level in their 70s.
That's fact.
Because they take care of themselves and all this stuff you can take now. Because True Brain and Black Seed Oil and Raw Honey. And I mean, if I'm 74 years old, I'm taking every damn thing I can take.
Right.
And Pete's got, $100-something million, so he can get incredible stuff. But there's so much stuff, creatine on the market, whatever. But the point is, and God, he did look 63 years old when he did his press conference yesterday or the day before.
Sure.
But
he's still so old.
The bottom line is Lane tried to get the Raiders job, or he tried to get in the mix.
Right.
And they wouldn't even, because he knows Mark Davis, and he was there for 15 minutes 16 years ago. That was when his dad was alive, Mark's dad, Al. And I think Lane thought, man, I can get in it. I've won a lot, and he has. He's, again, the best football coach that Ole Miss has ever had.
It would have been
and he's
huge.
Trending towards the best football coach
State
between the big three in the state of Mississippi. He may, now we'll see what happens. You can't always be ascending. So he will come back and then maybe, come back up. But the bottom line is I would rather have Lane Kiffin as Dak Prescott's head coach and as the head coach of the Dallas Cowboys.
I feel that. I'm with you 100%.
And I actually think Lane's he grew up around it with Monty Kiffin, his father, who passed away last summer. But Lane runs Ole Miss, and it works today. Like, as much as you can. I know how we all love to say this. It's not exact, but there's a lot of NFL style stuff that he's doing as far as running that program. He demands that his assistants do a lot because Lane's not going to get bogged down in the BS, and I'm fine with that.
Sure.
But, he couldn't get in the mix in anything, and no college jobs opened up that he would want.
I'd love to see him spar with Jerry. Or do you even spar with Jerry?
Well, I think that you can maybe have some candid conversations with him at the football table.
Okay.
But you understand that, one, he doesn't know what's going on. I don't mean like it's because he's his age. I'm saying because he's not in it, studying the players and all the transactions going on in the NFL like a Howie Roseman, general manager of the Eagles, on a daily basis. And you just have to understand you could go back and forth, but it's his call, and it always will be. And he let us know this past year, even though it was a disaster and they didn't do anything, and they blamed CD and Dak, which and McCarthy, he threw McCarthy under the bus multiple times last summer, and then went into the season and did. And I think Mike was like, dude, it's about assets. It's about players, and it's about transactions, and it's about getting involved in free agency. And it's also not about missing your last two draft picks. But I think you can spar a little bit with him. By the way, I just pulled up I think you can, but you're going to lose.
Yeah.
I just pulled up the New York Times article I've been referencing for the last couple of days. It may be the best football article I've ever read. Not book, but article. It's What Keeps Bill Parcells Awake at Night. It's by Michael Lewis, who is a brilliant author who happened to be writing a piece at this time. Okay? And I remember reading it. It is so in-depth. It is so crazy, Pills, on how coaches operate and how those that are driven, that are mad scientists that drive themselves mad to win, like Lane Kiffin or Jan Sojourner. And that's what it takes to win and always operate at a high level. You have to be a little crazy, you have to be obsessed.
Yes.
This article in the New York Times, What Keeps Bill Parcells Awake at Night, is one of the best, if not the best, and it's while he's at the Cowboys. It's written October 29th, 2006. Now, I've told you about the John Harbaugh article that you can Google. It was in ESPN, the magazine, which means it was on ESPN.com, and it was about 8 or 9 years ago. And it takes you through his schedule on the week of a game. It's gross. It's not what we all get excited on Sunday when they all look good and they've got their uniforms on and it's all the lights and pizzazz and the NFL's a show and you're all excited and you have your red beans and rice in your Rotel. That's not what this is. And this article on Parcells is not either. The reason why I reference Parcells is I think he's the only one that could tell Jerry to go to hell and not get fired. Now, it didn't last long, and who knows what happens if, and look, this happens, but who knows what happens if Romo is able to catch the point after, and doesn't fumble it, because it looks like they're going to advance and things are going to go their way for the first time. But also Romo was the only reason why they were there.
Right.
Not the only, I'm sorry. Let me walk that back. There were other players. One of the 2 or 3 main reasons that they were winning and in that position. So this is what we have as we wrap up the show. Brian Schottenheimer is the new head coach for the Dallas Cowboys, but really it's Jerry and Steven are both the head coach and general manager at the end of the day.
Steven looks like a thumb.
He looks like a thumb?
He looks like a thumb.
Yeah, he does.
I mean,
That's a great point.
He literally looks like my thumb.
Yeah. I mean, he looks like he's kind of Porky the Pig out of Arkansas.
That's a compliment
red
on my
cheeks,
thumb. Yeah.
heavy. Looks like he has tattooed some country club buffets. I mean, just...
He looks like a country fried steak.
Woo!
Yeah.
Triple gravy?
Come on.
Let's go. Speaking of Martin's in Livingston, I went by there Sunday and got their patty melt with extra pickles and jalapenos on the side. Holy Mary Olzab, it was good. Martin's in Livingston. Thanks for listening to the show. It's also brought to you by your next spray-in bedliner or lift kit, tires and wheels, RPT, baby. Rick's Pro Truck, ricksprotruck.com. See you tomorrow.